Hi, I'm Sophia Megert, and I'm a part of WACY at Ophelia's Place, and today we have with us another inspiring woman, Bev Smith. She was a legendary basketball player at the U of O. She was named All-American for 2 consecutive years and was later inducted into the U of O Athletics Hall of Fame. Later, she continued to contribute to the success of the program as the head coach at Oregon, and today she's the executive director at Kidsports, helping all kids play. We're excited to have you.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you for that introduction.
So to get into our first question, who inspires you?
Yeah, lots of, I've come to recognize as I get older, there's a number of people, and sometimes you don't see that until you have some hindsight. But I think that, the number one people that inspired me were my folks, my mom and dad, pretty much blue collar work ethic. Didn't really push us into anything, but if we decided to do something, they expected us to give our best effort and have the greatest attitude in doing it. And I think that says a lot about, there's something to be said about just that grit that you have, that you got to keep going even if it's not successful.
What general advice would you give to a young girl about life?
For the longest time, I always thought I had this thought in my head, probably when I turned 13 or 14, that I could be the best basketball player in the world. I just, I could do that. And I think when you do that, you set yourself a little bit up for some disappointment. And I remember when I was 16, I was on the junior national team in Canada, and we went down to Brazil to play against our age-like level. And there was 2 phenomenal players that had played in a club system that had sort of had extra training. And honestly, the game that we played, they beat us so badly. I was dizzy because of how fast they moved, how well they played. And it just hit me like, okay, this is going to be a lot harder than you thought it was. And number 2, you can't control what other people may have or may not have. All you can control is what you have. And so I realized in that moment, I can only be the best that I can be. And that's all I can ask of myself. So I decided that really what I would ask and I recommend for everyone is just be better tomorrow than you were today. Keep working at it, because it all adds up in the end, to create a better you. If you want to be a really good basketball player or a great violinist, you just have to put in the time.
So I know throughout your lifetime you kind of stuck with a career that's focused on sports now, youth sports. And what is it about your profession that inspires you to continue doing what you do?
Well, I think most of our passion is really personal. And I know for me, when I was pursuing the game of basketball, probably a lot like you, I was really in that tunnel of actually getting better every day. And so when you're younger, I think what you're always looking for, you're pursuing your passion to achieve something yourself and with your team, and to be a part of something bigger than yourself. But it's always that goal. So get to the Olympics, get to the podium, get to the gold medal, So there's always those steps. And as I aged out of basketball and got into coaching, and now into my executive directorship here at Kidsports, what I'm finding is it's not that goal anymore that I'm after. I'm after what can I do to impact and provide opportunities for others. And I still have that desire to incrementally get better every day at what I'm doing. It's that same sort of desire and intensity to improve oneself, but it now seeks to have an impact to provide kids with the opportunity to discover themselves through sport that I had and might not have discovered who I was without it, So it's very personal, but at the same time, it's kind of got 2 different legs. One, for a whole bunch of your life, you're pursuing it for a different reason, and then you figure out, well, what I really want to do is provide an impact.
A lot of these milestones in your career, like getting one of the first full-ride scholarships to the U of O, being one of the first to score 2,000 points in your career, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, having your number retired. They've been these revolutionary steps in helping promote gender equality in sports. So how does that feel to be kind of one of the trailblazers in increasing these opportunities for young women in sports, and how do you continue to support that goal today?
Yes, when I look back on it, I consider myself to have been very fortunate, because you always, I think it's really important to acknowledge who came before you and to then try and inspire who comes after you. There were women who came before me, who did incredible things and sacrificed a lot so that I would have that opportunity to be presented with the first full ride scholarship at the University of Oregon. I think of Patsy Mink and Edith Green, who were two senators, one from Hawaii and one from Oregon, who really were the two women that were responsible for the passage of Title IX legislation. They were pretty much ahead of their time. And they did incredible things and didn't really ever take the credit for it because a lot of people don't even know who they are. They did a lot for me that allowed me to get, a scholarship at the University of Oregon. My sister came down here and played at Oregon for 2 years, like on a partial mini scholarship. But, their success then opened up the fact that women didn't have to play in Girling or Annex anymore. They could actually go over and play before the men, at Mac Court. And her junior year, they actually created a little bit of a buzz that allowed them then to play in Mac Court before the men. And then my freshman year, we had some pretty cool signature wins and had a big win against South Korea, who was traveling at that time. They were going to host the World Championships in '79. And so we had them in and we actually beat them by a point. It was an overtime game. There were 5,000 people at Mac Court. And so just those opportunities exposed the women's game to people who had never had a chance to see it. And so I just think, when I look at someone like yourself, when I look at someone like Sabrina, the way you guys play and how you're just hard-nosed and tough, and this is about basketball, it's not about women's basketball, it's not about men's basketball, it's just about the purest way that, I can play the game to honor the people that have come before me and to inspire the people that will follow me.
As your time as both a collegiate and professional athlete and as a coach, how has that kind of affected the way you lead your life today and approach your role at Kidsports?
I've always been on a team. The first team was my family, and we operated as a team. You all helped, you all made your contribution to make the team work in a better way and have more success. And then I've always worked with people. I've always been teammates, and I've always counted on my teammates to help me, and I've always been someone that I hope that they could count on when they needed help. And I think anybody who's been involved in team sports really gets that. And that's why a lot of people who have played on collegiate teams or high school teams, you need to put that on your resume, because future employers are looking for people that know how to be a team player. Sometimes you have to wait, in the wings for that role to come through, and sometimes it might be just a minor role, but you playing the most important part of that minor role will really help the team in great ways. I've always been lucky enough to have a coach or a teacher or a parent acknowledge that minor role in the bigger picture. And when you can do that as a leader, as a teammate, as a coach, as an executive director, because it's about relationships. And on a team, if there's 5 of you out there, you're only as good as that 5th person. They've got to play their role. And even if it's just a rebounding role, man, they've got to do it. Otherwise, the rest of the car doesn't function and move as effectively and as efficiently as it can.
While some things are returning back to normal, we get to be in this great facility together right now. We're still living in some pretty strange times. So how have you kind of been adapting to life with COVID?
It is a real challenge. It's hard, particularly if you're a social person and you're used to being on a team and with groups. But I think what I try to do is to do more with less. Do I need all of these things to be able to perform my work or to be, satisfied with my life? Can't go out to dinner, but can I cook dinner better? Can I become a better cook through it? And sort of try to be grateful for what we do have rather than always complaining about what we don't have. And I think it's a good lesson that maybe Mother Earth is teaching us that, you can be resilient in this as we seek an answer, but maybe slow down, take a look at what you have rather than what you don't have right now. Enjoy your family if you can be close to them. Enjoy the time to call them that you maybe didn't used to have. Take care of yourself, go for a walk, go for a bike ride. get to know nature a little bit, because I think really she's a little fed up with us right now, and so good karma to her would be great. So I really just try to focus on the day, maybe just the hour, and enjoy it as much as I can, so that when we get to the other side of this, maybe we're just a little bit more grateful for the things that will come back to us as well.
And then to wrap up, what is your favorite baked good?
I thought a lot about this. I love this question, and I thought she's gonna be like, oh, those are, I don't know if that's what I meant, but I would say that I'm not a real sweet person. I used to be. So my mom was a great baker, so I loved all of her baked stuff. But right now, I think my favorite baked thing would be like baked lasagna, because it's more of a thing.
That
but
sounds delicious.
I used to love her apple pies and her baked goods. So, but now I'm more of a salty person, so baked lasagna would be great.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank you again, and as a young female athlete, thank you for, everything you've done as an athlete, as a coach, and at Kidsports.
Well, thank you, Sophia, and now it's your turn, so go get them, as you're already doing. Yeah.